Yes, what's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. We are back again. Big up every single one of you. I hope every single one of you are doing well. We're going to be diving in, looking at the latest news surrounding Arsenal Football Club, as we usually do. We've got some interesting news. Arsenal making contacts with Dominic Solanke, ladies and gentlemen. An Arsenal fan. Arsenal making contact with an Arsenal fan, Dominic Solanke. They want to bring him to the Emirates. Interesting. Brentford say Ivan Toney exit is possible in January as well, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot to dive into. Today is the fourth anniversary of Mikel Arteta, ladies and gentlemen. He has been here for 4 years. 4 years. Interesting. It's been a roller coaster of a ride, we have to be totally honest. Didn't think initially it was going to take 4 years to actually get ourselves in a position where we're favorites competing for the title. So it's been an interesting journey, a roller coaster of a ride for Mikel Arteta. There has been many ups and downs, but we have to give credit where credit is due. And over the past 12 to say 18 months, even 24 months, in all fairness, we've seen a different type of Arsenal. We've seen a beautiful version of the club that we remember from many years ago, you know, and we've been stuck in the dumps for so long. And there's been so many changes. The transition at Arsenal hasn't been a smooth transition, but it's put us in a position where, you know, there's more togetherness, there's more unity. The players that we have right now are professionals, no egos, no bad habits. The structure, the organization, the board. I mean, there's still question marks, but the board have even stepped up. 4 years since Mikel Arteta has been here. 4 years. Cheers, guys. Cheers. Let's see how this season plays out. Will this be the last season for Mikel Arteta, or will he prove to be the manager that many believe him to be? The manager that is going to take Arsenal to the Premier League title. Can he do it? Guys in the chat, do comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure we are hitting the like button. Do subscribe to the channel if we are new. Turn the notification bells on, all of that type of stuff. We much appreciate every single one of you. Okay, so let's dive into the latest. Very interesting. We've got Amadou Onana updates as well. Arsenal keen on Amadou Onana, as we do know. Thomas Partey, not too sure what's going on with Thomas, but you know, Arsenal are looking to the future. Amadou Onana, 21 or 22 years old, interesting young player, lanky, someone that can come in the middle of the park and make things happen. Arsenal are interested, but it remains to be seen whether they're going to try and make a move for the player. More reports coming out. So again, Arsenal are currently exploring the prospect of signing the 22-year-old Amadou Onana from Everton. No talks have taken place yet. Club insist on signing new holding midfielder, considering possible departures. Who are those departures, ladies and gentlemen? Well, Thomas Partey probably going to be one of them, if we are to be totally honest here. It's a shame, really, but it is what it is. Thomas Partey isn't fit enough to play for Mikel Arteta's team, and that's what it is. And on that basis, we're going to have to move him on. We're going to have to bring in someone that's an improvement, someone that is Premier League experienced, and that is Amadou Onana. I don't know, a lot of our community have actually been screaming for Amadou Onana, including Grant, the casual gamer. There he is in the chat. Please wax, no Lanke, no thank you. He's in the chat. He definitely wants Amadou Onana. I know you're not saying please wax, no Amadou Onana though, are you? We'll obviously talk about Dominic Solanke. I'll give you my reasons as to why Arsenal were interested in Dominic Solanke. And we've kind of touched on this before, but I'll give you my reasons, my opinion as to why I believe Arsenal are interested in Dominic Solanke. So make sure you don't go anywhere. Fasten your seatbelts. Hit that like button. Big up Kieran in the building. Big up 1962 Guna. Big up the youth in the building. Mr. Solanke, is this what we're doing out here? This has to be a joke. Eddie and Solanke. Big up the assembled. It says morning wax and the chat. Why are we looking at Solanke and not the target we actually need? The ambition is just laughable, in my opinion. We need to get the right player. We always seem to get an alternative. Yes, everyone is pretty frustrated with these links with Dominic Solanke. I'm going to give you my reasons as to why I believe Arsenal are looking at Dominic Solanke's, Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney's. There's a common denominator there, and we'll look at that in further detail. Onana is a real midfielder. Solanke would make me disappointed with this club. Really? Bargain shopping in the first place. There we go. There we go. But Amadou Onana is definitely a player that I want to see come to Arsenal. I think I've been calling for this for quite some time. And he's definitely a player that's going to, come in and solidify that midfield even more than it already is. We've got Declan Rice there right now. Another Rolls Royce of a player just bossing it in the midfield. Can you imagine Amadou Onana partnered with Declan Rice? Oh, it's problems. How are you breaking that midfield down? I don't know. And Mikel Arteta is getting things right, man. One thing we have to, again, on the subject of, the 4th anniversary, we have to kind of give, again, credit where credit's due and say things like, players, as an example. We have questions, the players that Mikel Arteta has brought to the club. But if you actually compare the players that Mikel Arteta has brought to the club and the amount of players that he's brought in comparison to other, managers of recent, it hasn't been that bad. It hasn't been that bad, has it? Right? So, right now, Mikel Arteta is getting something right. He's bringing in players that have the right profile, players that are coming in, that are working hard, that have a presence. The only kind of lack that we have is attack. And I think, people will still question that with the amount of goals we've scored and the amount of goals we are scoring and the routes that we are finding away. But I still think, bringing in that striker and bringing in someone else that can add an extra 20 plus GA in the second half of the season is so important. But in terms of other positions that Mikel Arteta has brought in, he has done, a decent enough job, a good enough job. It could have been better. There are other players out there that we could have signed that would have been better than the likes of a Ben White or, a Kivior and things like that. But overall, I think the signings have been better than most of these other managers anyway. Fabio Vieira needs to go. Bloody hell. I think we're being harsh on Fabio. Let's let him land. He still hasn't landed yet. How long did we have to wait? He's still on his flight. He's still flying in the air. We've got to wait for him to land, man. Allow him. So many people obviously think Yuri and Timber is on track to return to Arsenal first team, training back in January and potentially on the trip to Porto in February. I think we are reaching with this Yuri and Timber situation. I think he's not going to be back till late March, beginning of April. Those ACLs are serious. Everyone's just kind of reaching. Arsenal expected to rebuff approaches for Job Kivior in January amid interest from clubs in Italy. Defender has started 2 of the last 4 games. Arsenal light on options at the back. Absolutely, man. I think we need to bring in another defender. There was a priority of bringing in a defender and a midfielder for Arteta and Eddie in the January window. And I still think, a striker is a priority, but, we might have to bring in another centre-back just in case a Gabriel Magalhaes or William Saliba, suffers with an injury that keeps him out for 2 games or something small like that. We still want to make sure that we've got, an adequate replacement. And I just don't think Kivior at this moment in time is that. And he's proven it. He's had some decent spells, don't get me wrong. I think Mikel Arteta has to take some responsibility for, not getting the best out of Kivior, especially playing the player at left back. He's a centre back. What are you playing him at left back for? Come on, bro. Stop playing him at left back. It doesn't make any sense. But on that basis, I just think we need to bring in another centre back that can give Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes a run for their money. And Arsenal are looking at that as well. Kivior potentially could see the exit door, but I think because we are light at the back, it wouldn't make sense for us to, loan or sell Kivior. I don't think Arteta has any intentions of selling Kivior anyway, but a loan option could be on the cards. However, at this point, I just don't think Arsenal will, trigger that because of the options we have. Unless Stan Kroenke says, don't worry, loan him out. We're going to go and get you a big boy centre-back. Don't worry, brother. We're going to get you a centre-back and a left-back. Yeah? Whatever you want, Mikel, we're going to give it to you, mate. Yeah, well, I would love to hear that. I would love to hear that. Anyway, so Brentford have warned Arsenal and Chelsea they will have to pay a decent fee if they want to sign Ivan Toney. Now, here we are, Ivan Toney, one of the main topics of discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you are hitting the like button, do subscribe, share the video. If you are on Instagram, if you are on Facebook, if you are on Twitter, your WhatsApp groups, share this video, get as many people as we can involved in the video as well. All right, let's do it right now. Hit the like button, all of that. So Ivan Toney, we're going to touch on Ivan Toney. Then we're going to talk about Dominic Solanke. I know there's a lot of uncertainty about this one. Big up the Southern Gooner. He says, this January will tell us exactly what we need to know about our ambitions and how serious we will be down the stretch. A massive window in Arteta and Edu's tenure. Absolutely, man. Big up the Southern Gooner, one of the realest ones. If you don't know Southern Gooner, go and check him out. Follow his YouTube channel as well. But you know, great point there, bro. Great point there. Like, this is like ultimately, and I've said it as well in the past, like this January window really determines whether Arsenal are serious about winning this Premier League or not. If Arsenal were serious about winning this Premier League, they'll go into that window and do what's needed to win this Premier League. Now, people say again, and I've said it, how do you guarantee yourself the Premier League? You go out there and do what needs to be done. And it's easy said than done, right? Of course it is. But we know right now that Arsenal have got bank, and we know right now there are players available in the Premier League that we could sign that instantly put us in contention of winning that Premier League. To, you know, not even in contention, we're already in contention. It will guarantee us, in my opinion, the Premier League. And Ivan Toney, the guy on the screen right now, is one of those players. Some people might say it's a bit far-fetched, but I've given you my reasons as to why I believe Ivan Toney will be that player. He will be integral, and he will be so hungry. And the fact that he's joining a team like Arsenal Football Club, bro, he's just gonna match up works, bro. You think it's a joke? You think it's a joke? Ivan Toney is just gonna come and bat it up at Arsenal. Bat it up. We would have never seen Ivan Toney play to the level that he has played at Arsenal before. But that's the type of confidence I've got in Ivan Toney coming into Arsenal. We're hitting the ground running, and it's being a phenomenal signing. I can't get my words out. But is Arsenal going to pull the trigger? And like Southern Gooner was saying, this is the month where we determine if Arsenal are serious or not, how ambitious they are. Do they want to win the Premier League? Do they want to get it done this season, or are they happy just to settle for top four? You know, I feel like last season we were happy to settle for top four. If we are to be real, signing Jorginho, Trossard, and Kivior in a season where we're 7 points at the top of the table, and you got a number of games to winnable games, like, and I just feel like Arsenal were kind of happy to see the season out. They weren't really like, oh, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna cement this. We're gonna guarantee it. That wasn't the focus. That wasn't the feeling that Arsenal were giving out last season. It was more or less, oh, let's just see how things go. If we get top four, we get top four. That's what we expected anyway. So, a big up True Gooner in the building. He says Toney would be perfect for us, in my opinion. Absolutely. You know, Ivan Toney, the system that we have at this moment in time for Ivan Toney, I think he cooks. Some people will say, well, what Jesus does, Ivan Toney doesn't really do. So what Jesus offers this current team right now, we're going to lack if we put Ivan Toney in the team. And I understand that. But our way around that, to keep that fluidity, to keep that flow, to keep, Jesus involved in linking up and building up play and helping in those attacking phases, is to drop him into the 8. Drop Jesus into the 8. Because if you look at what Kai Havertz is doing, and this is like, I'm not saying Kai Havertz is doing anything wrong, because Kai Havertz is doing a job right now. Let's see how long that continues for. But based on what Kai Havertz is actually doing for the team, he's not really defending. He's not really doing much in terms of having to get back and support defensive moments. He's not really doing that, is he? He's really just roaming that central area, waiting for an opportunity to kind of link up some form of play and then start some sort of attack. And that's what Granit Xhaka was doing. Granit Xhaka done that to perfection last season. It was one of the reasons why Arsenal was so fluid. It was one of the reasons why Arsenal were just so scary in terms of how we attacked, because of Granit Xhaka. And it's so mad to say this, but if you go back and watch last season, every time Granit Xhaka got the ball, he never dilly-dallied on the ball. He got the ball. The first thing he done was start the attack. I'm triggering the attack. That's all Xhaka was doing last season. And the moment he triggered the attack, what would he then go and do? Be a part of that attack. He wouldn't stand there and wait. He would be a part of the attack. He becomes an attacker, becomes a striker. Exactly what Kai Havertz is doing for Arsenal right now, making those last-ditching runs in behind, trying to get into those late crosses or whatever it may be. Try and get onto those late crosses or whatever. So, we're seeing that. But Gabriel Jesus can offer us that. If we put Gabriel Jesus in that role, you're telling me Gabriel Jesus couldn't cook from that number 8 role and continue to keep play ticking in that area. And then you have the combination between him and Ivan Toney. The combination between Jesus and Odegaard will still be there. You'll have Ivan Toney and Odegaard and Pro. And then you'll have the runners. I think those three, Jesus, Odegaard, and Ivan Toney, could literally control what's going on in that central area, to the point where it will allow Martinelli and Saka and even the wider players like the fullbacks to just overload. And that's what Mikel Arteta likes anyway. Mikel Arteta likes overloading the wider areas. Do you understand? The triangle patterns, overloading the fullbacks and trying to, attack it from, that type of angle. If we've got people in the middle of the park that can really control possession and really help with dictating the tempo of the game, then we win. It's going to be crazy. I think one problem that Arsenal do have at this moment in time is controlling the tempo of the game. We do have a problem with doing that. And when I say the tempo of the game is, being slow, building up, patient build up, and then being able to flick a switch and everything just ticks. The tempo rises. Everyone just goes up a speed. The movement of the ball is quicker. Everything's more fast, direct, and much more, swift. But Arsenal have a problem with doing that. And I've seen it recently. Like when we're trying to switch things up and we're trying to be a bit more quick with our ball, with the way we're moving the ball. By the time we get to the final third, someone flops. Someone always flops. Every time we get the ball to the 18-yard box, someone flops. The only way we never flop is if we just take our time. If we take our time and we build up slow and we pass, that's the time when we can execute our moves. But other than that, I think if we're moving the ball too quick, sometimes, or a lot of the time, Arsenal are flopping. So again, controlling the tempo of the game is so important, and that's something that Arsenal, need to work on. Speaking about Granit Xhaka, he's going to be at the game against West Ham. Him and Tonsanya, proper goodbye. Tonsanya, who's Tonsanya? Or have you written that wrong? I don't know who Tonsanya is, but proper goodbye to us and everyone at the club, man. Big up Granit, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. The personality that Granit had and, the player that he become at Arsenal under Mikel Arteta was phenomenal. Fantastic. Right now you're looking at it and thinking, well, I would have actually said keep him. I would have said keep him. 2 years ago, I would have said sell Granit Xhaka. If we take ourselves back to 2021, I'm saying, Granit Xhaka, get out, bro. You're done. I've seen 5-6 years of you. I am done. And every single season was a flop. Other than, the second season under Arsene Wenger, which no one really spoke about. I think Granit Xhaka's second season under Arsene Wenger gave me a little bit of optimism about, about his overall qualities, because he was playing in a different role under Arsene Wenger in Arsene Wenger's second to last season. I think it was second to last season. So not his last season. I think it was his second to last. Is he second to last? I think it was the season we won the FA Cup. The season we won the FA Cup, Arsene Wenger's last FA Cup. That season, Granit Xhaka was playing more of a deep lying playmaker role. He was still deep, but he was being used more for his passing ability instead of his defensive ability. And we saw a different Xhaka. His assists went up. His key passes went up. His everything went up. His passes into the final third went up. Like Arsene Wenger really switched Xhaka around. And then when Unai Emery came in, he ruined Xhaka again because he started playing Xhaka as a defensive midfielder. So he ruined him again. And that's why Granit Xhaka's had a roller coaster of a ride at Arsenal. Everyone's just focused on the negatives. No one's really focused on the positives. But now with what Arteta done with Granit Xhaka, there was no way you could avoid those positives, because he changed his career at Arsenal, after all of that. And he left on a high, man. He left on a high. It would have been better if we would have won the Premier League for him. I actually said it last season. I said, if we're going to sell Granit Xhaka, we're going to sell Rob Holding. Forget Rob Holding. No one cares about Rob Holding. Only because he served the club well for a long time. That's the only reason I've got that respect for him. But it would have been sick if we would have won the Premier League last season and then sent them off. Like Granit Xhaka, yeah, buying Leverkusen, see you later, bye. Oh, you just won the Premier League, yeah, well done. And now we've got a new start, new number 8, whatever it is. But yeah, man, it is what it is, man. Big up Granit Xhaka anyway, man. At least he redeemed himself and he become the player that, and you know, many expected him to be when he first joined Arsenal, because he was touted as one of the top 10 attacking midfielders in Europe. You know, back in the day when we signed him. So when everyone questions Granit Xhaka, the signing of Granit Xhaka, let's go and look at the numbers, man. He was doing it up in the Bundesliga. He was doing it up. He was doing extremely well. You know, so, and for Switzerland as well, always been the captain for them as well. So, but anyway, Ivan Toney. We're literally digressing here. So Ivan Toney wants to join Arsenal Football Club, as we do know. There's another report coming out today from the director of Brentford, and let's see what Brentford's director has to say about Ivan Toney. If I can find it. We've got Eddie and Ketty update as well. So we've got another update here from Fabrizio Romano on Ivan Toney. He basically says on Ivan Toney that Ivan Toney would be interested in joining Arsenal. So Ivan Toney has confirmed that he wants to join Arsenal. He's told friends and family that that's the move for him. He wants to move to Arsenal. Brentford know it. The manager knows it. Arteta knows it. This Ivan Toney move is like Declan Rice all over again. You know, like these times last year, we're sitting there saying, oh, yeah, are we signing Declan Rice? Or, oh, we're not going to sign Declan Rice. He's going to go to Man United, or he's going to go to Man City. You know, like all of the speculation was happening at that time. But really and truly, Arsenal were building a dialogue and everything else that comes with it with Declan Rice at that time. You know, we beat West Ham 3-1 just before Christmas, I believe, or just after Christmas. I can't remember the exact date. Boxing Day, perhaps, maybe. I can't remember the exact date. And I remember seeing Mikel Arteta and Declan Rice talking, and so was Xhaka and Declan Rice. And I said, after them on the match reaction, I think Xhaka and Declan Rice were talking about Declan Rice moving to Arsenal. Do you remember that, Abdullah? Yes, my Don. He spoke to Xhaka. And I remember saying on the match reaction, he spoke to Xhaka saying, what's Arsenal like, my dog? I am coming, fam. I am coming. And I knew it. Then all the reports about Declan Rice started coming out in the February, the March. And obviously we were here talking about it as we usually do. And then here we are. Declan Rice is here. You know, bad boy player. And this is the reason why anyone new to the channel, make sure you do subscribe, because every time we've got any kind of links with players, Wax will do his investigations and he will share his opinions based on the research and what he has found and discovered through those investigations. So, you know, I always bang it out. Pablo Marie, Declan Rice, we were the first, bro. Thomas Partey, we were the first to let the people them know, yeah, about these dons. Yeah, the first, okay? And these players signed for the club. But he did speak to Xhaka, and I just remember saying, yeah, man, that conversation to me, even though we didn't see anything other than them holding their mouths talking to each other, I felt like that was a conversation whereby Declan Rice is kind of giving some feedback, or Declan Rice is kind of trying to get some feedback, or whatever it may be. We need Toney because Paul might sign him. Says, is it Shari Sarada, big you up, Sarada, man. Much appreciate you, man. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for subscribing. Lovely glasses, lovely glasses. Yeah, man. Like Toney is you know, an improvement on what we have, and I think right now what we can do with this Ivan Toney deal, Surada. I do apologize, Surada. Thank you. So yeah, Ivan Toney is definitely an improvement. Let's just see what Fabrizio Romano is saying here. So he says Ivan Toney would be interested in joining Arsenal. Arsenal are aware of Ivan Toney's stance. It's not about telling him Arsenal. It's not about telling. Hold on. Misreading this. My brain's working all mad. It's not about him telling Arsenal that he wants to join them, but of course they know the player would like to join. So, you know, when Fabrizio Romano is saying all this type of stuff, this is basically indicating that Ivan Toney and Arsenal are in conversation. And Ivan Toney has told friends and family that he wants Arsenal. And Arsenal know that. Ivan Toney knows that. You know, the next step is getting the deal done. Can Arsenal get it done? It says here, but there's still the price tag issue. And of course, that is an issue. £60 million for Ivan Toney is going to be an issue. However, we have a bargaining chip. Yeah, we've got a bargaining chip, and he goes by the name of Eddie Nketiah, right? So we could use Eddie Nketiah in the negotiation to try and get this one done, especially with Mbeumo injured for Brentford, because a lot of people in the comments from yesterday's video was like, oh, how are you going to sign Ivan Toney when Mbeumo's out injured for 3 months? Cool, makes sense. However, Brentford might take take Eddie Nketiah, sorry. They might have someone else in the pipeline that they might bring in to replace Mbeumo. You know what I mean? Bearing in mind, Mbeumo is more of a wide player and Ivan Toney is more of a central player anyway. So, yeah. But anyway, it says here there's still the price tag issue, as we said many times. Also, Toney has always been very respectful to Brentford, so it depends on the clubs reaching an agreement. It looks difficult for Arsenal because of financial fair play. There we go, FFP again. And of course, they have David Raya on loan from Brentford, which could be another complication. Now, that's weird that he says a complication, because some would believe, and some have suggested, that Brentford will be open to the Ivan Toney deal because of the agreement they've had with David Raya. And people would say, well, why would that make any sense? It's because of the amount of money that they're going to guarantee for the deal. At the end of the day, Ivan Toney wants to move, and Brentford are going to respect that. So they're not going to stand in his way. And on that basis, they are going to want to get as much money as they can out of this deal. Now, if Arsenal come along, if Ivan Toney says to Brentford in January, look, big you guys up. Yeah, you've held me down well, big you up, but it's time for me to move. Brentford will be open to the loan. They probably won't reject the loan because they know they need the money. Do you know what I mean? So now we can say to Brentford, all right, cool, what we'll do is we'll give you 5 million in January or 10 million in January. That might be enough to add to your already kitty to bring someone else in. And then in the summer, we'll pay you 45 million for Ivan Toney. Now, on that basis, Brentford are saying, yeah, in my opinion. I can't speak for Brentford, obviously, but in my opinion, based on my understanding of Brentford, the finances that Brentford come with, and all of that type of stuff, who Brentford are as a football club in general, they're not gonna say no to that. They're gonna accept 10 million in January and then take 45 million to maybe 50 million at a stretch in the summer. The only problem with that now is, will Arsenal put themselves in a predicament come the summer? Because remember, we still have to pay for the David Raya deal, 27 million. If we then agree 45 to 50 million, let's say 50 million, just to round it up to the nearest 10, basically. So that's 50 million. That's altogether, that's 20, so that's 77 million. And then we still need to pay for Declan Rice. Remember, we had to pay for that, which is going to be another at least 50 million. So just on that alone, without even bringing in anyone new other than the Ivan Toney in the January window, is going to cost us over £100 million. So on that basis, you're thinking, well, yeah, Arsenal need to win something. We need the Premier League this season, or we need the Champions League, or both would be better. Because if we can do both, then we don't need to worry about that. Because the amount of money we would have accumulated is going to be triple, quadruple the amount of money we're going to outlay just on what I've just mentioned there. So sell Nketiah, Cedric, Elneny, and Jorginho. I think those players are in the pipeline to be sold anyway. Well, Arsenal are in the process right now of trying to figure out a strategy on how, or they've probably already got the strategy, but let's just say they're figuring out the strategy now. They're trying to figure out a strategy on how they can get rid of Nketiah, Cedric, Elneny, and Jorginho without losing any depth or type of quality in their team whatsoever. You know, I would personally rather have Mohamed Elneny in a team than not have Mohamed Elneny in a team without a replacement. Do you know what I mean? So there has to be a strategy in place whereby they're going to ship these players out and they're going to replace them. And that kind of brings us on to like the Solankes and the Ivan Toneys, as well as don't forget his name. Can't forget your name, bro. Ollie Watkins. Yeah, there you go. Ollie! But that brings us on to these type of players. Now, one name that you've mentioned there is Nketiah. Now, Eddie Nketiah is homegrown. And someone's already mentioned it in the chat earlier on. I see it skip my eye, yeah? But Eddie Nketiah is homegrown. And I've said so many times before, that if Arsenal have any intentions or any plans to get rid of Eddie Nketiah, to get rid of Reece Nelson, to get rid of Emil Smith-Rowe, they're going to have to. There's no other way around it. They're going to have to replace those players with homegrown players who are over the age of 21. So when we've sat here and said, oh, well, why have we still got Eddie Nketiah? He's crap. He's not good enough. I mean, I have said it and I stand by it. But one of the reasons why we've got Eddie is because how do we replace Eddie without it costing us a fortune? And not only that, how do we replace Eddie and guarantee someone better who is homegrown? Like, who is really better than Eddie? With all respect to the strikers that we have out there in the Premier League, we've got Ivan Toney, clearly levels above Eddie. But can we say there's many more? And this is the reason why we have to now resort to looking at Dominic Solanke. I'm surprised we even jumps on the Ryan Brewster ship yet. Ryan Brewster. Bro, like, where do you go? This is what I'm saying. If you can't sign Phil Foden, if you can't sign Jack Grealish, if you can't sign, I don't know, Harry Kane, who do you sign, bro? Do you know what I mean? And this is another reason why I've always said that bringing the academy players through and establishing them when they're young is so important. It's so important not only for them and for the future of the players, but it's also important for the future of a football club. Because not only are we breeding through these young homegrown talents, but now we don't have to worry about registering 25-man squads. We don't have to worry about, oh, who do we go out there and get? Oh my God, there's no English striker, or there's no English midfielder that we can sign. I mean, Declan Rice was the best English player you could go out there and buy. Who else can you go out there and buy that's going to be a real improvement on your team that's English? That's English. Like, comment down below, let me know now, like, who can you buy right now that's not at Man City, outside of Man City's team? Who can you buy right now that's English, that's an improvement on your squad? I would love to hear that on this current Arsenal squad. I'll give you 30 seconds to actually bang these answers in. Get your answers in. I'm going to run through those answers. I'm going to just quickly finish this bit here. But obviously complicated because of the David Raya bit. Arsenal are having internal discussions about signing Toney. So there is an ongoing situation taking place at Arsenal in terms of Ivan Toney, and they want to get that deal done. They want to get it done, and I believe it will be a deal that gets done. Now, the director of Brentford actually come out yesterday and was asked about Ivan Toney. This is Brentford's technical director, Lee Dykes. I think his name's Lee Dykes. But he has basically stated that Ivan Toney may leave the club very shortly. Now, he actually used the word or the words very shortly. So on that basis, what are you taking from that? Even Ferguson says, casual gamer. Abdullah says, Jude Bellingham, but he's too expensive, and Declan Rice was my first choice. Reece James, I mean, these are good shouts. Maddison, before he went Spurs. Good shouts. Good shouts. I'm loving these names. Ivan Toney, obviously. You know, is there anyone else, though? And that's it. Like, we've given less than a handful of names here. And that's my point. You know, we don't want to put everything on the table for a handful of names, because how many people are going for a handful of names? It makes it extremely difficult, doesn't it? So on that basis, you can understand why Arsenal have kept Reece Nelson, why they've kept Eddie Nketiah, why they kept Rob Holding and Callum Chambers for so long. They kept them for so long because who do we replace them with? You know? And if we do replace them, how much is it going to cost us? Because there's English tax. It's crazy. But the names that you guys have mentioned in the chat, Reece James, you know, I'll definitely take Reece James, but he's had injury problems recently. So I mean, that could be detrimental to the future, to his playing career. Jude Bellingham, 110%. In fact, we're actually, apparently, according to The Sun, Arsenal are scouting Job Bellingham at Sunderland. Arsenal, Chelsea, and I believe it might be Manchester United. All three clubs were seen at the game against Bristol City the other day, where Job was playing. He come off the bench for Sunderland, 69th minute. Didn't score, didn't get an assist, but he's a good player. And a lot of people are going to look at the Bellinghams because of Jude, isn't it? And you can't. There's only like a 2 or 3 year age gap between them. So you're thinking if Jude Bellingham is at the level that he's at right now, what's his brother going to be on? What's his brother going to be on? Them way there. So let me quickly see how old his brother is. His brother is 18. His brother's 18. That's what I'm saying. So it's not even. It's like 2 years apart, isn't it? It's like 2 years apart. But Arsenal are looking at 2 years apart. They are. Arsenal are looking at Job Bellingham at Sunderland, and I would just sign him for the sake of signing him. Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I would sign him for the sake of signing him, just because of what his brother's done. His brother, Jude Bellingham, is the best English player in the world at this moment in time, isn't it? It's kind of a tight one between him and Declan Rice, but the type of player Jude Bellingham is, I prefer Jude Bellingham. He's my type of player. The real number 8 can play as a number 10, second striker, can play everywhere. Jude Bellingham can play everywhere. Like, he's one of those type of dons. And what he's doing over in the La Liga at the moment, wait. All right, he's going to go on and do, you can't say Ronaldo records, but he's going to go on and do some crazy records at Real Madrid. Crazy, crazy records. Man, I wish we would have signed Jude Bellingham, man, before he went to Dortmund. What a miss. What a miss. He was on the verge of signing for Manchester United, in fact, but they would have ruined him. Can you imagine what Manchester United would have done to Jude Bellingham? They would have ruined him. Oh, man. They would have killed him. They would have definitely killed him. Toney over Ferguson, says Ashley. Yeah, I'm taking Toney over Ferguson. I think Ferguson's got a little hype around his name. Haven't really seen anything this season, but he still needs to marinate. He ain't fully seasoned yet. He still needs to marinate. My man's still through the process. Like, he hasn't even been put in a fridge yet. He hasn't even been fully seasoned yet. Ivan Toney is fully seasoned. Yeah, he's got everything on there. Paprika. He's got the jerk. He's got the chili powder. He's got everything on there. Yeah, curry powder, everything. Madras. We got Champions League money in the pocket, about 77 million, I think, says Sergio. Yeah, we got 77 million for qualifying or getting through to the knockouts. And then the amount of money we actually make for each round of the knockout games is crazy. I think we make about 7 to 8 million per game. Crazy. 8 million per game. Bloody hell. And then it gets worse. That's just for the first round. When you get to the second round, it goes up to like 10 to 11 million per game. When you get to like semi-finals, man's getting like 17, 18 million per game. You win the Champions League, you get crazy amounts of money. I think it's about, 150 to 250 million or some craziness like that. Like, you are just, it's a crazy turnover, man. Crazy turnover. All right, just to quickly finish off on what this Ivan Toney. So, technical director Lee Dykes at Brentford says that Ivan Toney may leave the club very shortly. That was exactly his exact words. However, club will have to pay a premium. A premium. What is that premium going to be? And listen, Brentford can't scare anyone with any price tag because we know Brentford. You see, Brighton are a bit different. Once they've done big deals in the past, it's really hard to go into them and say, all right, cool, man, here's 75 million for Moses Caicedo, when they don't necessarily need to sell, Moses Caicedo, or, you know what I mean? They've just made big dough over the past 3 years. Cucurella, Bear Man, Ben White, Bear Man, they've made big P. You don't need to sell. Brentford, tell me the last time Brentford made any big P. You really think Brentford can stand in a negotiation and tell Arsenal no to a loan move and 40 million? Nah, they're not going to do it. All this premium talk is cool. They're letting people know that we're ready to sell. Come talk to us. Come to the table. But yeah, Brentford ain't saying no to a loan move, which would include a 35 to 45 million, obligation to buy. As previously reported, Arsenal are pushing to bring the striker, and Chelsea have him on the list as well. And that's according to Fraser Fletcher. So, that's Ivan Toney. It does look like a deal that is extremely close. And I think Ivan Toney already knows what the crack is. I think Arsenal already know what the crack is. I think we're at a point with Ivan Toney where we are just kind of working out our options. We are kind of figuring out, all right, what's the best move for Arsenal? What makes sense for us? What doesn't make sense for us? You know, that's the position that Arsenal find themselves in. You know, you don't walk into a January window and then start making discussions with the player. This is all done and dusted. Like I said, Ivan Toney wants Arsenal Football Club. Ivan Toney has told friends and family that he wants Arsenal Football Club. Mikel Arteta knows he wants Arsenal Football Club. Everybody knows, including Thomas Frank. All we need to do now is figure out, are we going to pull the trigger or are we not going to pull the trigger? Ollie Watkins, how much will they sell him for? Ollie Watkins is going to go for crazy amounts of money. They're not going to sell Ollie Watkins anytime soon anyway. And yeah, it's going to go for crazy amounts of money, man. You know, we're looking at with Ollie Watkins, it's probably about 60 million, 65 million. That's what I think Aston Villa will settle for. About 65 million. You know, in this day and age, it's not really crazy amounts of money. But if you look at Ollie Watkins and where Ollie Watkins has come from, it is crazy amounts of money. Because I don't think Ollie Watkins has done anything spectacular. He's having a great season, and he had a good season last season as well. But I mean, that's 2 good seasons in how many years of you being a professional football player? The guy is 27 years old. So, you know what I mean? It's not like he's been doing it up since he was 21, 20. You know, he's come late. He's done very, very well. On that basis, 65 million is about right. It's about right, you know. The assembled, remember, Arsenal was flirting with Rice and Caicedo. That made things more complicated with the Rice deal. Big up Colin in the building. Wax, why are we delaying it? Just announced the signing of Ivan Toney. Well, we're delaying because we're working out our options, man. Just trying to figure out what we want to do. Do we want to sign Ivan Toney or do we want to sign a midfielder and a defender in January? Because that's what a lot of the stories are telling us. Arsenal are just unsure on whether they want to sign a striker. There was one report that came out yesterday. It said Arsenal know that signing a striker is a difference maker. It's going to be make a massive difference to what we're trying to achieve this season. They know that. It's been reported. However, they feel that signing a striker would be more of a priority in the summer, and I use quotation marks because that's exactly what's been said. And they would prefer to go for a midfielder and a defender in January. That's what's been reported recently. So, look, I don't know, man. This is where Arsenal, going back to what I've just said, Arsenal are trying to figure out their options. What do we do? What makes sense for us and what doesn't make sense for us? Guys, make sure we are hitting the like button. Just over 100 people locked into this one. Make sure we are hitting the like button. Do subscribe. All of that type of stuff. We much appreciate every single one of you. If you want to join our WhatsApp community as well, there is a link in the description. We have a WhatsApp community, over 100 people in there. Probably about 40 active users, to be quite fair. But everyone's great in there. Join the community if you want to continue these Arsenal conversations and football conversations off camera and off YouTube. But anyway, let's move on to the main topic of discussion, because I know a lot of people are slightly concerned about this one. And I want to say I'm concerned, in all fairness. I'm not concerned. I understand it. Do Arsenal... Is there a better option out there? Yes, we've just spoken about the better option. But we can't disregard Dominic Solanke. Dominic Solanke! Oh, wow. It's got to a point where Arsenal are looking at Dominic Solanke as a person to come in and lead the line. Can Dominic Solanke lead the line at Arsenal, ladies and gentlemen? Comment down below and let me know. So Dominic Solanke dealing with a move to Arsenal Football Club. Now, the reason, I'm going to give you my reasons quickly before we actually look at the news. The reasons as to why Dominic Solanke is being looked at by Arsenal, as I've already said, is because of this homegrown situation. Arsenal have the intentions of selling Eddie Nketiah, and that is a fact. Anyone that doesn't think so, I don't know what you're doing, don't know where you've been, don't know what you're reading. But, you know, it's clear to see that Arsenal are ready to sell Eddie Nketiah. Clear. Based on what I've read, based on the information that I have been given, and, you know, by some of my contacts as well. Remember, I've got contacts. You know, Arsenal are ready to sell Eddie Nketiah. They are just not trying to make it obvious because they don't want to lose any type of. They don't want to lose a leg. You know, they don't want to not have a leg to stand on in negotiations, basically. But they are willing, and behind the scenes, it's being said that Arsenal are trying to again figure out their options. But they're trying to figure out what they're going to be doing with Eddie Nketiah. Are they going to try and sell him? Are they going to bring in another striker and still keep Eddie Nketiah? These are the things that Arsenal are trying to contemplate at this moment in time. But if we do get rid of Eddie Nketiah, we have no choice but to turn to a Dominic Solanke or an Ivan Toney or an Ollie Watkins. We have to sign one of those type of players because of the homegrown quota. If we don't, we won't be able to register a full squad. And there can be, you can be fined. What team was it? I can't remember what team it was. It might even have been Arsenal. I don't think it was Arsenal. Who was it? But there was a team that didn't meet the criteria, and they were fined every single game. I think it was in France, actually. It was the French. Was it in France? Maybe that might have been the coach badging thing. Yeah, that might have been the coach badging thing. So it even applies to that as well. That's the coach badging thing. I think I've got myself mixed up here. Forget what I've just said there. I've got myself mixed up. I was thinking about something else. But basically, you can't obviously register, a 25-man squad, and there's rules and regulations around that. So, you make things more difficult than they have to be. And on that basis, Arsenal are going to have to replace Eddie Nketiah with another homegrown player. Who do we replace him with? Who is better than Eddie Nketiah up front? There's not that many. And that's not a good thing. It's actually a bad thing. It's actually a bad thing because we know where Eddie Nketiah is as a football player. With all due respect to him, I've got a lot of love and respect for Eddie Nketiah. At one point, I actually thought Eddie Nketiah was going to go on and be one of the best Premier League strikers. I actually thought that at one point when he was about 18, 19. But it hasn't turned out that way. And we know he's not good enough. But if you look at the pool of strikers in English football that are eligible for homegrown, who's actually better than Eddie Nketiah? It's a concern, isn't it? You have to then look at the Callum Wilsons. Like, come on, could anyone see Arsenal signing a Callum Wilson? No. I would have never thought about Arsenal signing a Callum Wilson. That is something I frown upon. The same way people are frowning upon Dominic Solanke. But there's no one to sign. Casual Gamer says Ivan Ferguson. And of course, he meets the homegrown quota. But is Ivan Ferguson any better than Dominic Solanke? No, we can't say he is. He had a good season last season, but we can't actually say that he is better. Now, he's got a ceiling, probably a higher ceiling than Dominic Solanke. He's got a big future, a bright future ahead of him. But the point of signing a striker right now for Arsenal Football Club isn't about the prospect of having a great player in the future. It's about what that striker can add to the squad now. No way there. It's about what they can add now. And we need that player, whoever that player is going to be, we need that player to come in and add more than what Ivan Toney is currently offering us. Do you understand? Ivan Toney, why not? Eddie Nketiah. Fuck it. No, Ivan Toney's name is stuck in my head. But they need to offer us more than what Eddie Nketiah is offering us. Now, Dominic Solanke, let's look at Dominic Solanke's stats at this moment in time, because they're not that bad. They're not that bad. This season, he's playing for Bournemouth, as we know. This season, he's got 9 goals in 17 appearances for Bournemouth. 9 goals in 17 appearances for Bournemouth. Now, that is phenomenal. I have to be honest. The goal return for a team like Bournemouth that have been scrimping and scraping near the bottom of the table, to have a goal return of 9 in 17 games is pretty awesome. And, you can say, well, take that player with that level of confidence, with that level of output for a team of that stature, and then put him in Arsenal's squad. What is he going to produce? What is he going to produce? You can instantly say, and you can put a guarantee that he's going to produce more than what he's producing currently at flipping Bournemouth. Of course he is. Of course he is. So, that's probably that's probably a reason as to why Arsenal are looking at Dominic Solanke. We need a homegrown player. We need a Premier League proven player. And based on what he's doing for a club like Bournemouth, he could come in and do double the job of what Eddie Nketiah is doing. Another great thing about Solanke as well that I want to give him credit for is his overall play. He's not just a target type man striker. He's actually got the ability to dribble, the ability to carry the ball, the ability to pick up passes, the ability to drop deep and link up play. Like Dominic Solanke has other qualities. He's not just like one of those, strikers. Wax is Solanke injury prone? Not from what I know. Looks at one point, and on Football Manager, I turned Dominic Solanke into one of the best strikers on the game. I mean, that's a game. That was a couple of years ago. In real life, Dominic Solanke was labelled as a wonder kid. He was labelled as one of those players that were going to go on and play for England and be one of the best English strikers at one point. He come through, if my memory serves me well, I might have to just look at this quickly. I think he come through the Chelsea ranks and then was signed to Liverpool. I can't see it. I'll just try to see if I can cheat, but I couldn't cheat. I'm just, off the top of my head, I think he come through the Chelsea Academy, was signed to Liverpool. It didn't work out at Liverpool. Then they sold him to Bournemouth for a decent fee. Now, Bournemouth paid that fee because of the potential and based on based on the gas that was around his name at the time. But he hasn't really lived up to the expectation that people had for him initially. However, he could be a late blossomer. He could be one of those guys that were very, very good, had all the potential when he was young, whatever reason, didn't work out for him. But now he's matured. Now he's got older. Now he's found himself consistently playing in a Premier League. He can now adapt and be the player that everybody expected him to be when he was coming through the academies as a kid, as a teenager. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to be overly harsh on this one. I think Dominic Solanke is a good football player. I think he's a good football player. Yeah, it's questionable in terms of the reputation of the player and so on and so forth, but I think we've got to look beyond that on this one. We understand the logic behind why Arsenal are looking at him, and there's two bits of logic there. He's done very, very well in the Premier League this season especially, and he's homegrown. He's homegrown. We need him. No, I actually think he come through the Chelsea Academy and then was signed to Liverpool at a young age, a very, very young age. He was signed to Liverpool or they signed, he obviously signed for Liverpool. They either paid money for him or they got him for free. I can't actually remember, but no disrespect, says O'Dane. This is the Arsenal. Solanke is a Burnley level, mate. Not good enough. I mean, each to their own, man. Each to their own. It's just an opinion. I'm not going to be overly critical and harsh on Dominic Solanke because I actually think he's a good player. And if you do the eye test on him, even on the ball, he's really good. Solanke is preparing for failure. Sorry, he would simply become the excuse. I don't know, man. I don't know. Look, if I had my way, I probably would be signing the best striker in the world. We would all be signing the best striker in the world. We'll go for Victor Osimhen. We'll go for Dusan Vlahovic, or we'll go for one of those high-profile players that have, been playing in Champions Leagues and all of that, right? But just looking at the position that Arsenal find themselves in, unfortunately, we need homegrown players, and one of these players have to be signed, Dominic Solanke, Ivan Toney. If we're looking at these options, I am preferring Ivan Toney. I'm taking Ivan Toney over Dominic Solanke. I'm taking Ivan Toney over Ollie Watkins. I would actually probably take, and this is mad, and people will say, no, Wax, you're delusion. You're delusion today. Delusion, wacky. You're really wacky right now. Make sure we are hitting the like buttons, man. Over 100 people in the building. Only 52 likes on the video. Says static. Big up the mods. Big up all the mods. Big up all the members as well. But make sure we are hitting the like button, ladies and gentlemen, and subscribing. We appreciate every single one of you. I'm going to stream for about another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to wrap this up. So make sure you're getting your comments in and so on and so forth. Hitting that like button is so important. But yeah, out of the three, I'm taking Ivan Toney, and I'm going to say something that some people might call me delusional for, but I would probably take Dominic Solanke over Ollie Watkins. Wild take. Make sure you clip it. Stick it up on the internet, do whatever you want to do, right? But I would probably take Dominic Solanke over Ollie Watkins. And the only reason I say that is because of the profile of players. That's all it is. I'm not saying that Dominic Solanke is way better than Ollie Watkins Ollie Watkins is way better than Dominic Solanke. I think they're more or less like close to the same type of level. But based on the way we play football, I think I would prefer Dominic Solanke over an Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins is suited for counter-attacking football. We're not that type of team. So Ollie Watkins is suited to counter-attacking football. He needs to make those last-ditching runs off the last defender, all of that type of space, all that type of palaver. He needs loads of space. You know, he needs to use the channels, the wider channels. You know, we've got players already doing that. Dominic Solanke don't necessarily need to do that. Dominic Solanke can come in and drop deep and fill gaps in midfield. Dominic Solanke can also use those wider channels. Dominic Solanke can do so much more. And I think I would prefer him over Ollie Watkins. But Ivan Toney is the guy. Ivan Toney is the guy. Look, DS Electronics, I see the emoji, mate. Hey, listen, remember me though, yeah? The real ones in the building know when it comes to identifying players and the qualities that they possess, you can never question me, bro. You can never question me. And that's not even an egotistic thing or anything like that. Arrogance, none of that. This is just reality of the matter. You know, I rarely get it wrong when it comes to player quality. Rarely get it wrong. I'm good at identifying talent. That's what it is. But, you know, looking at how we play and looking at the free profile of players, I'm taking Ivan Toney first, Dominic Solanke second, and Ollie Watkins third. Sorry, Max, I would rather sign Bundesliga top goal scorer from last season, Fulrich from Borussia Dortmund. My eyesight's bad. He's 30, but he's a very similar to Solanke's, but better. That won't happen. I choose Watkins. The Legend of Renegade, it's good to see you back, my guy. He says, I can't believe Eddie and Nketiah, El Neni and Cedric are still at this club. Static disagrees respectfully. I appreciate you, Static, regardless. Solanke is more suited. However, I feel we still could play in Watkins' favour. And I feel Ollie can do what Solanke... Oh, lost it. Do what Solanke does, but maybe not as fluid. But still, I'd rather Watkins. Arsenal are not looking at top strikers, says Highbury's local badger. They are looking at Solanke. We ain't winning. No EPL. Sack Arteta this Jan. You would be doing me a massive service and get me Ancelotti or Rickard. Does Rickard still even manage? Hey, that's how you know Highbury's local badger is old school. Does Rickard still even manage? The last time I see that Dom with his little jerry curl on the top of his headpiece, yeah. Hey, that was time ago, blood. We're going back like 20 years ago. Man's calling for him to come out of retirement. Wax, I still want us to go for Bruno Guimaraes. That guy is a general in midfield. You remember the legend? We used to talk about Bruno Guimaraes all the time. We were so optimistic about getting that deal done. We spoke about it on this channel literally every day for about a month, and then he signed for Newcastle. Was disappointed. Ambrose says, I can see Solanke playing with Kai. They could do a madness together. Big up Ambrose, man. What happened to you, bro? Did you leave our group chat, fam? You left our group chat, man. You better get your ass back in there. Yeah? You've been missing the bands, bro. Big up G the schemer, man. Get yourself in the group chat as well. Everyone in the building, get yourself in that group chats. WhatsApp things, yeah? Okay, Ivan is the man. I can't believe it, Wax. I am hoping it's a smoke screen. I want Rickard, bro. Old school. Now he was a winner. Even as a player, he was a top player. Wax, will you be analysing Diego Costa in both legs of the Arsenal? Personally, I would love to see him at the club instead of Raya. Ambrose says, work. I'm sorry, man. Yeah, don't worry, man. Just come into the group chat, Ambrose. Put your notifications on mute so it doesn't disturb you and join the family, man. Come on. Listen, that Diego Costa, Don, really good goalkeeper. He's only about 21, 22 years old. Definitely needs to do the eye test on him thoroughly so I can, make a determination on how qualified he is. But according to what I've seen and according to what a lot of people have said about him, he's got the potential to go on and be one of the best. But it remains to be seen, man. Like these goalkeepers or anyone that's playing over in Portugal, they need to come over to the Premier League before I can start saying, oh, you know what, you're the best. And some people might say, oh, yeah, well, how did you say Messi was the best? Firstly, I always went with Ronaldo. Let's not even start that debate. But I did prefer Ronaldo, but I loved Messi as well. Let's not say I didn't. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I never said Messi was the GOAT, because I was like, well, Messi, I need you to come to the Premier League. If you can't come to the Premier League and don up the Premier League, bruv, then yeah, I can't really give you that title. You know, you're one of, but you're not the. You're not the. You're one of. People will argue that. I know people will argue that, but one thing we can say about Messi is that we did see him destroy Arsenal a number of times. We did see him destroy Arsenal a number of times. So on that basis, he probably wouldn't have had any problems coming to the Premier League and donning it up. But in saying that, could he go down to Stoke on a cold night on Wednesday and go up against a Ryan Shawcross? Could he do that? I don't know. Yeah, don't know. Yeah. So G the Skier says, I'm in the group as Orlando Luciano. I get bear joke on there, G. You know what? I don't even see you in there, bro. I don't even see you in there. But good to hear that you're in the group, man. If you are in the group, WhatsApp group, get more involved, man. Get more involved in what we're doing in there. It's pretty awesome. Big up Ashley says, come on, Wax. Maradona and Pele never played in the EPL. Elbow cough. Yeah, but listen, you see with those type of players, big up Maradona and Pele, but they played in a different time. I think if they played today, yeah, they're not levels. And with all due respect to Pele, Pele done a mad thing, but Pele was playing with farmers, bro. Pele was playing with guys that were working in Sainsbury's. Like, let's be totally honest here. A lot of the goals that Pele was scoring and the teams that he was going up against back in his day were guys that were working down the local Tesco's, like in today's world. Do you know what I mean? They weren't real professional players. But Maradona, different level. Maradona definitely was at a time of, where football was at a high. The transition that football had made at that point, the physicality, the technical side of it, the mental side of it, everything had improved. We're talking about at least 15, 20 years, after Pele, right? Maradona, that generation was worldly. But then you got to think the Messis and the Ronaldos, they took it to a next level, bro. They took it to a next level. And I'm telling you now, Maradona, the best version of Maradona, if he was to play today, I don't think he would get the same raving reviews as he would have back in the 1980s. I just don't think he would have. And that's just all it is. But definitely a great player. Won the World Cup, all of that. Can't take none of that away from him. Do you know what I mean? Thoughts on Stone Cold Sean Dyche's job at Everton. He's a better manager than the Peaky Blinders done at Man United. Yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, you're right, man. Sean Dyche is doing a decent job at Everton. And he's turned things around. I think Everton have now, when it kind of hits home now. That point deduction last season when he almost got relegated. Like all of these things are hitting home. It's like, no, but we've got good players. We've got individual good players. We need to step up. And I think, they've had their spirits raised and they're going for it, man. They don't want to get relegated. Exactly. Why is it hard to compare today's player to yesterday's player? Messi is one of the best players of all time because he's playmaking ability. Absolutely. 110%. Never going to take that away from Messi. If anything, Messi is the best playmaker of all time. Not one of the best. Messi is the best playmaker of all time. Best. You can't think of a better playmaker than Messi. Like I've always said, like Mesut Ozil's up there. And I will put Mesut Ozil in the top 5 best ever playmakers of all time. But Messi has to go down as number 1. 110%. And again, this is me being non-biased because, Mesut Ozil is one of my favorite players. However, Mesut, top 5 playmakers of all time. Messi, number 1. 110%. Ronaldo wouldn't get called a playmaker. If anything, Ronaldo was more like a winger striker. Peace out, Wax. Vacating in Jamaica and the beach is calling. Big you up, Colin, man. I'm extremely jealous. Extremely jealous. Big you up, man. All right, cool. Get a few more comments in, ladies and gentlemen, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Keep hitting the like button. Big up all the new subscribers. I see you. I appreciate you. So yeah, this thing with Dominic Solanke, it says here, Arsenal have spoken to the boyhood Arsenal fan, Dominic Solanke. Arsenal are actively looking for a striker in the January transfer window. So, I mean, there's a lot of, conflicting information surrounding Arsenal's, rumored transfer business. There's a lot of conflicting information. It's either Arsenal are trying to get a defender or a midfielder, or Arsenal want to get a striker, or Arsenal don't want a striker because Arsenal deem a defensive midfielder and a centre-back a priority. So it's really conflicting. We just have to just wait and see what's happening. Real Madrid, Guti was yeah, I'm not even too sure I'm pronouncing his name right. Guti. Like he was fantastic Spanish player. Yeah, he was hard, man. I remember the player. He was hard. Ashley is asking me, Wax, Ozil or Bergkamp? Why are people listen? If we're talking about Arsenal rep, then we're going to Bergkamp. But like I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, firstly, they're two different players. I honestly think they're two different players. I think Bergkamp is more of a striker, and Ozil is more of a number 10. Even though Dennis Bergkamp can slot into the number 10, I just think Ozil is I think Ozil's a better playmaker. Dennis Bergkamp's a better striker. That's how I'll put it. If we're talking about Arsenal legacy, Dennis Bergkamp all fucking day. If we're talking about overall quality, you cannot rob Ozil off the list and say Dennis Bergkamp is way better than him. That is over-exaggerate. Dennis Bergkamp was fucking sick, but so was Mesut Ozil, bro. We can't judge Mesut Ozil just based on the last couple of years that he had at Arsenal. Bearing in mind, he was in a bang average team, and let's be real honest here. If prime Dennis Bergkamp was in that bang average team with that shit team, I just don't think it has the same output. And the reason I say that, and the reason why I can say that with chest as well, for anyone that might try and argue the case, is because Dennis Bergkamp, playing with Henry and that, scored 4 goals in a whole season. Like, Dennis Bergkamp was in his prime. I'm going back to that 2002. I think it was like 2002 or 2003 or either 2001, 2002, 2003. One of those years, and this is obviously not me digging Bergkamp out or anything, but you were playing with world-class players, and in the whole season, you got about 3 or 4 GA. And I was like, wow. No one ever called that out. No one would ever mention that. And he got some small-ass GA in about 30 games. And I was like, raw. Man's meant to be the Iceman, you know? But it is what it is, man. Still doesn't change anything, does it? Wax, what players should Arsenal be looking to loan in this window? To loan out or loan in? I don't want to loan anyone in. I'm going to buy players, bro. I will never forgive Giroud and Welbeck for not winning us the league and denying Ozil the assist records. There we go, man. How can you have Danny Welbeck and Giroud in front of you, but still getting 19 assists just in the league? Man got 25 GA. 25 GA in 35 games. I don't think that record has been broken by any player since then. No one has got, like, in terms of like conversion rate, no one's done it. And this is the reason why I say another reason, how many reasons do I need? Bergkamp is a king, absolutely, and I'm not taking that away from him. But what was I going to say? Yeah, another reason why you have to kind of put Mesut Ozil up there and give him a lot of credit, not only because of the team that he played in, because of the numbers that he continued to produce in that team. That just goes to show you that you're a world-class player. You can't continue to produce those type of numbers that he produced at Arsenal in that bang average team. You can't do it. Like, you can't do it. 125 GA in 250 games for Arsenal. That is incredible. That is incredible for a bang average team. Let's be honest, man. Players ain't even doing that today in top quality teams. Let's put it that way. Dennis is clear from everyone. I mean, yeah, man, that's people will say that Arsenal legacy, all of that. You put Dennis Bergkamp as probably number 1. He's probably bigger than Henry, but Henry's still my biggest legend, unfortunately, for Dennis. I love Ozil, says Quest One. Big up Quest One, man. I haven't seen you in a while, my brother. This guy just comes around when it's January transfers. What's your thoughts on the manager? He's done a good job so far, man. You know, obviously you would have been there when we've been Arteta out, and you know there were reasons and there was context behind all of that. But you know, at the end of the day, I've never had a negative agenda for Mikel Arteta. It's always been for Arsenal. Well, not a negative one anyway. The agenda has always been for Arsenal to do well. That's always been the agenda. So if Arteta's the guy that takes Arsenal to the level that we need to be at, then so be it. And on that basis of off the back of the past 2 years, yeah, I think Arteta's done a good job, man. Done a good job. It's done a good job. It could have been better. There are decisions that are still questionable. And there are decisions that I will always question, and things that I will always question and raise my concerns for. But if we are to just be real, yeah, man, he's done a good job over the past 18 months. I've been leveling up in real life. That's the way, Quest, man. Good to hear, man. If Ozil had a bad boy striker, also have won the league. Also, he had beaten Henry assist record. Absolutely. Yeah, man. Continue the striker. Imagine if Ozil had an Aubameyang in 2016. Fuck it, hell. Ozil's assist record would probably went to about 30 assists. He would have done about 30 assists with Aubameyang in front of him, especially the Aubameyang of that day and age. Aubameyang was doing 20 plus goals at that point. So imagine he had Ozil feeding him balls. Bloody hell. It would have been crazy. Even Mkhitaryan, I think Mkhitaryan was sick, you know. Underrated, disrespected by Arsenal, all because he come from Man United and it didn't work out for him at Man United. But if you actually looked at Mkhitaryan, still playing today, still at the top level today, so he never lost it. No one can ever say Mkhitaryan was shit. But if we would have signed Mkhitaryan instead of Manchester United and signed Aubameyang at that point, we would have won the league. We would have won the league. Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan, Ozil, and Sanchez cooking, fuck off. Fuck off. Pardon my language. I do apologize. Those man cooking, all right. Mkhitaryan would have been finding balls left, right, and center. Ozil would have been finding man left, right, and center. Sanchez and Aubameyang would have been popping shots galore, goals galore, bro. We got early doors football. I see you, broski. No, but I have respect to you. I remember Edwards, so the striker. Yeah, he was Eduardo. He's a baller, man. Edward de Silva. Yeah, he was hard. Nobody knew who he was. Come from Shakhtar. People questioned the signing of Edwards, and in his first season, he bagged 30 goals. And man was like, "What? Hey, if he never got injured, we would have won the league as well, man. We would have won the league." But they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing when they were targeting Edward. He was silky smooth, skillful, positioning, runs. He had everything, bro. He had it all. Imagine Alexis, Ozil, and Oba together. I know, man. You know, imagine them. And then even like, we had good players, man. We had good players. What we didn't have is we didn't have a culture. I think the best transition for Arsenal would have been, instead of signing Unai Emery, giving Arsene Wenger to 2020 and bringing in Mikel Arteta as the assistant manager. And then in 2020, Mikel Arteta could have taken over and continued to drive the bus. I think that would have been such a smoother, much more effective transition. And I think Arsenal probably would have won the league by now if we would have made that decision instead. I think we would have won the league by now. Arsene Wenger and Arteta together. Can you imagine that? Like, you think about what Arteta has actually brought to Arsenal Football Club since he's been here. And you think about what Arsene Wenger used to bring to Arsenal Football Club. You combine those two figures together, and those two philosophies, those two ideologies, those two everything. You combine them together. That would have been an unstoppable force. That would have been Arsene Wenger and Mikel Arteta could have potentially been more unstoppable than Arsene Wenger and Pat Rice. Saying so. I think Arsene Wenger and Pat Rice probably had the best relationship, chemistry, everything. You know, Pat Rice was Arsenal through and through, and still is Arsenal through and through. So, you know, their relationship was super duper tight, and it was more or less unstoppable. Arsenal were unstoppable under the leadership of Arsene Wenger and Pat Rice. I think Mikel Arteta and Arsene Wenger would have created something similar to that. Probably even better. You know, because all we were lacking under Arsene Wenger was defensive structure. That's all we were lacking under Arsene Wenger. Defensive structure and organization. That's all it was. If Mikel Arteta was coming and single-handedly changed the organization, the positioning, the understanding of defensive duties, etc., etc. Can you imagine what he would have done with Arsene Wenger? It would have been sick. Dynamo Zagreb, that's it. Shakhtar. Why did I say Shakhtar? Dynamo Zagreb, that's where we come from. My bad. You know, it's the same. You know, I think it's the same color kit, isn't it? I'm thinking of the same color kits. Dynamo Zagreb. Yeah, we used to get them in the Champions League, man. I'm pretty sure we played them in the Champions League when Edward played for them as well. One of the reasons why we actually signed him. Wax, Arsenal never offered the role to Mikel Arteta to Wenger assistant until he left. That would have been good. It would have been good, man. It would have been good. Whack them likes, people. Big up Melbourne in the building. All right, I'm going to read 3 more comments and I'm going to wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. Thank you ever so much for tuning in today. Big up all the new subscribers. Amari Biscoff, Scalacci, Almunia, Surrenderos, Giroud. We've come a long way. We've come a very long way. A very long way. 61 likes on the video. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep hitting that like button. Keep hitting that like button. Yeah, I knew, you know what? I knew it was Diamond Zagreb, actually. I don't know why I said Shakhtar. I literally was thinking of the color kits, because I'm pretty sure they've both got a similar color kit. I think we can go far in the Champions League, says Quest One. You know what? I have a feeling that we can as well, you know. I have a feeling that we can as well. I wasn't so optimistic last season. I actually thought the pressure was going to come on this season. I thought, you know, Mikel Arteta was kind of proven that he struggled to juggle multiple competitions at once. And that's been a concern. And I thought, you know, he's going to have problems in the Champions League. But he hasn't. I mean, the group stages wasn't easy, but it wasn't hard, was it? But I do have a strong feeling that Arsenal will go very, very far in the Champions League. Mikel Arteta does seem like a guy. It's so weird. Even though we haven't done that well in cup competitions, he does look like he comes across like a manager that's designed for cup competitions. That's how I initially felt when he won the FA Cup. Anyway, when he won the FA Cup, I thought, yeah, Mikel Arteta is one of those managers that in a league campaign, probably not that great in a league campaign, but in cup competitions, I think this guy might be the winner. And I was getting that feeling, you know, once we won the FA Cup, but that slowly faded. But I still feel that could be the case. Similar to like Unai Emery, you know, he's been great in cup competitions, not so well in league competitions. I mean, PSG, he won the league, and he's doing so well right now with Aston Villa. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But yeah, Mikel Arteta has proven many of us wrong, man. He's proven many of us wrong. I've seen these names so many times in this chat. El Neni, Cedric, and Ketia, Jorginho. Yeah, Wax, we've come a long way. The assembled, one of the real ones. Been here from day dot. Now you're right, man. We're still like, I understand the original comment, because if you actually, the names that you've mentioned there, the assembled, I'm taking those names over the names that were mentioned earlier. You know, Amari Biscoff, come on, the guy never made it anywhere. He never made it anywhere. You know, Scalacci, we signed an injury-prone, old-age Scalacci. I don't know why we signed him. Almunia, you know, Surrender, and Giroud. I mean, those players are fucking awful. Imagine Arsenal win the Champions League, man, and Kai Havertz gets the winner. Oh my God! Chelsea fans are already screwing. We need to do a Kai Havertz stream, and I'm going to do a Kai Havertz stream. But Chelsea fans are slightly screwing. They are slightly screwing, man. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to wrap this up now. I'm starting to feel hungry. I want to get some food. I need to call my barbers and get my appointment sorted out for tomorrow. Christmas haircuts and shit, you know? Fucking no, bro. Losing my beard as well. Fucking no, losing it. I'm losing it, blood. I'm losing my beard, bro. So I'm probably going to have to cut this motherfucker down some more, boy. Yeah, big up Abdullah. Big up the assembled. Big up Sureda. Hope I pronounced that right. Big up John. Big up Quest One. Big up Ashley. The Legends of Renegade. My guy Static. Highbreeze Local Badger. Just Ads. Abdullah Ahmed. I see you guys, man. Melbourne. All of you guys. Make sure we are hitting the like button. We will be back again tomorrow, so make sure you join us for that. And yeah, man, I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Peace.